There is more turmoil in the Liberal Party. 4 senior cabinet ministers in Justin Trudeau's government said they will not be running for re-election. They are Sports Minister Carla Qualtrough, Northern Affairs Minister Dan Vandel, Economic Development for Southern Ontario Minister Philomena Tassi, and National Revenue Minister Marie-Claude Bibeau. This is raising more questions about the party's belief in Trudeau's leadership. And Laurie Turnbull is an Associate Professor of Political Science at Dalhousie University, and she's joining us again this morning. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, these 4 ministers we know are not alone in their decision not to rerun. Since the 2021 election, 9 cabinet ministers have either resigned or announced they're not going to run in the next election. Is this related to the projected outcome of the next election? We heard one of the ministers say yesterday she believed in Trudeau in 2015. She believes in him now, but do they believe in him for 2025?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that is that's such a difficult case to be made at this point. I think there are so many factors that are contributing to this sense that there's no way Trudeau's going to win in 2025. And there's, nothing that anybody seems to be able to do about that. And so I think it's not surprising when you see cabinet ministers say, I'm not going to do this again. Now, it is not unusual for us to see ministers who have been in politics for 9-10 years to say, you know what, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to run again. And it's not necessarily that the Trudeau factor is entirely to blame here, but I think given the broader context and given the polls and given, no confidence in supply agreement anymore, and given the fact that caucus is mobilizing against him and are planning to confront him about this at the caucus meeting on Wednesday, we can't help but put it in the same light when we see ministers say they're not going to come back.
What keeps coming in my mind is a conversation with a former cabinet minister who said it is very difficult to go from being a cabinet minister to sitting in opposition for at least another 4 years. This cabinet shuffle that's going to take place in the coming weeks, what new faces could we see the Prime Minister put in place?
Okay, I mean, over the past couple of months, Pablo Rodriguez has left cabinet, Seamus O'Regan has left cabinet, and even though their portfolios were transferred to other people because they have to be, there wasn't anybody new brought into cabinet. But now that there are 4 ministers who've indicated they're also not going to seek re-election, there's more of an opportunity for Trudeau to really make a significant number of changes to cabinet if that's what he wants to do. Now, prime ministers can always do that. He can shuffle his cabinet entirely any day he wants. But now that there are more people who perhaps, he might want to move out of those cabinet positions so he can bring people in, get a new face, a new bench of faces set up in advance of the next election. That might be something he tries to do to show up differently for voters and also to appease those in caucus who are obviously extremely concerned about where this is all going. We may see somebody like Anna Gainey, for example, in Montreal, who is close to Trudeau, came into the Liberal caucus through a by-election and has not been on the inside of the cabinet room yet. That might be a possibility. We might see the Prime Minister try to, extend an olive branch to some of the people who are clearly upset about his leadership and worried about where the party is going. And so I think we'll probably see some outreach to some of the regions that he's not doing so well in, that he stands to lose seats in. That would include British Columbia and Atlantic Canada. And, who else? we shall see.
Trudeau's advisors are reportedly telling him to hold off on shuffling cabinet until after another important date, which is the U.S. presidential election, November the 5th. How could whoever ends up winning the White House affect Trudeau's political fortunes?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's going to make a difference, right? Like if either way, it's somebody we know. It's somebody who we have worked with before, in whether it's Kamala Harris in her capacity as vice president, or they have dealt with Trump in the presidency before. And so it's not like they don't know what they're going to get. However, it could be a circumstance that if Trump is reelected, Trudeau can kind of drive a bit of a fear tactic among people that says, look, do you really want Poilievre to be prime minister if Trump is going to be at the helm in the U.S.? Is that too scary for people? On the other hand, if Kamala Harris wins, there could be a sense that that ship is steadier and people may feel a bit more relaxed and more willing to take a risk if that's the right way to see it as on somebody like Poilievre. And so I think Trudeau will, there's definitely a reason why he might take a different approach depending on what the outcome of that election is. And there's no reason that he has to rush this right now. None of the ministers have said we want to quit today. And so if he wants to keep this going for a while, leave them where they are to see which way the wind blows in the U.S., he's got all the time to do that.
About 3 weeks, in fact. Associate Professor of Political Science at Dalhousie University, Laurie Turnbull. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us this morning.
You too. Thank you.
If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.